to a public hearing on House Bill 1581. And we will begin with a staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chairs and committee members. Peter Clodfelter, staff of the committee. House Bill 1581 relates to establishing a Washington State Cannabis Commission. And House Bill 1581 would create the Washington State Cannabis Commission. It would consist of cannabis producers processors, and then the director of the Department of Agriculture. So there would be 13 voting members. 12 of the voting members would be cannabis producers or producer processors. Then one of the voting members would be the director of the Department of Agriculture. The commission would be funded by agricultural commodity assessments that would be levied on cannabis producers and cannabis producer processors. The bill would set out the purposes of the commission, and they would include planning and conducting different types of programs, research, advising government agencies, reviewing market metrics, educating and advising cannabis producers, advancing knowledge and practice of cannabis production in the state, limiting youth access, and other purposes listed in the bill. The bill also grants specific powers and duties to the commission related to topics like internal governance, employment and contracting, cooperating with other entities and persons, acquiring and owning intellectual property rights, such as related to cannabis research, as well as the power to adopt rules and other specific powers included in the bill. There's some oversight provisions of the commission by the director of the Department of Agriculture. They're including for the commission to submit and have the approval of the commission's proposed budget by the director of the Department of Agriculture every year. Also, plans for different activities of the commission and proposed rules would have to be submitted for submission and approval by the director of the Department of Agriculture. And any costs that the Department of Agriculture incurs or Liquor and Cannabis Board incurs would have to be reimbursed by the Cannabis Commission under the bill. And that concludes the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Seeing none, this is my bill. I'm the prime sponsor here, and we've seen this bill before. This is an industry that where there has been discussion of an agricultural commission, the way other products are treated, and the industry has had varying opinions on whether or not it's time to have a cannabis commission. It's something that I believe that we need to discuss and move forward if we're ready to. And I'm looking forward to hearing the testimony and hearing the comments of the committee on this subject. So with that, Mr. Vice Chair, can you call up our testifiers?
Yes, I can, Madam Chair. So we have a total of 9 witnesses today, and 5 are in person, 4 remote. We'll start out with a 3-person panel of in-person testifiers, followed by another panel consisting of 2 remote testifiers, Brandon Park and Bethany Rondeau, as well as in-person Vicki Christopherson. But we will begin by inviting up Sean Wagenseller, Burl Bryson, and Ryan Sevigny.
Please proceed, whoever got there first.
To the table. I'm going to switch it up on you a little bit. I'd like to thank Chair Wiley, Chair Kloba, the ranking member, and the committee for an opportunity to provide comment on this bill. For the record, I am Burl Bryson, the Executive Director of the Cannabis Alliance, which is dedicated to the advancement of a vital, ethical, equitable, and sustainable cannabis industry in Washington. We'd like to add our voices to urge you to advance this important bill. Cannabis Commission bills have been fashioned with Washington State Department of Agricultural guidance after those of other commodity commissions. The commission bill language has been vetted by the WSDA, the WSLCB, Department of Commerce, and has had input from the State Attorney General and from the Governor's Office. Washington State has 21 agricultural commissions. Commissions were established in the 30s to explicitly provide a way for farmers to pool their resources to address cultivation issues, and improve market conditions. 100% of the farmers that grow hops, wine grapes, blueberries, and apples in the state are already represented by commissions. Some commissions do strictly research and education and representation. Some focus on marketing, and some do both. A recent JLARC study of various Washington Commission members found value in their participation. Farmers across various commodities are happy to have commissions at their backs. The Cannabis Commission will be funded by producer sales and will focus solely on research and education. We're looking at only 0.145% for producer processors. That's only $14.50 for every $10,000 in products sold, and a producer processor would have to sell over $700,000 in annual sales to reach $1,000 in commission. And so really it's about pooling the resources and allowing for the research and education. You know, a lot of times in this committee we talk about a lack of research that's been done. This is an opportunity to normalize cannabis, do the research, and get the education piece out there. Please advance this excellent bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of this witness? We'll proceed with our next testifier.
I'll witness here. Hello, my name is Sean Dene Wagenseller. I'm the CEO of Washington Bud Company, a licensed cannabis producer with my husband and son. I also sit on both the boards of the Washington Craft and Sun Growers Association and the Cannabis Alliance, representing the largest swath of licensees. We all support establishing a cannabis commission. This has been a multi-year effort that has been stopped every year by opposers just simply not considering the potential of, for every $1 invested in the commission, up to $100 of return on investment. That's a $1,000 ROI that has been shown in other commission studies as a benefit to their members. Imagine supporters of us as small boats competing with massive yachts in fleet multiple times our size. The yachts obviously expend more fuel and labor in proportion to their destination goals. The boats utilize less expense and have closer destinations, but all pay in proportion to their size. No matter the size of a cannabis cultivator, less than 1/3 of only 1% of their sales will go to fund the commission, where we will all benefit. Our company will be assessed less than $2,000 annually, and we do $100,000 every month. That's well worth it to me because I could not afford any research for $2,000. I'm yellow already. Okay, I'm going to flip over. So, you know, we need to raise the dike. I hope you believe that a high tide raises all boats, and so we need to leave it up to you legislators to open up that dike and raise the waters so that all of us can float into the future and meet tomorrow's challenges together. So. Please allow us to further the superior reputation of Washington-grown products by ensuring our cannabis cultivators have all the scientific tools we need to succeed in the coming markets. Thank you.
Committee members, any questions? Then we'll proceed. Oh, Representative Waters? Okay. Please proceed then.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Seveny, and I'm here representing the Cannabis Alliance, the Washington Sun and Craft Growers, and my own Tier 2 farm. I want to thank chairs, the co-chairs, Representative Wiley and Kloba, for not only sponsoring this bill, but hearing it. And we think it's an important topic. And I would like to just first say that I would echo everything that the two previous panelists, Sean and Burl, said. And I'm going to kind of talk more about anecdotal on how this actually comes to life out in a cannabis farm. So my personal story, our farm is in the Okanagan. We are surrounded by beautiful mountains, Canada to the north, lakes, but mostly we're surrounded by apple and cherry orchards. And if you're familiar with the seasonal cycle of harvesting, we'll note that cherries finish in the summer, apples finish in September, while cannabis finishes a little bit later in late October or mid-October. And the point of this is that we all face similar pest problems. And as certain crops come down before other crops, pests tend to migrate into the most lush areas. Now, we haven't been able to test this hypothesis, but I would tell you that it's probably pretty good. And if we had a commission to test against this hypothesis and maybe other hypotheses, like we're talking about potency in other bills, and maybe there's a way the commission research could identify best ways to talk and handle the potency issues. So I would just again like to encourage you to pass this out of the committee, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions, committee members? Well, thank you very much. Vice Chair Stearns?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So our next panel of three will consist of 2 remote testifiers and 1 in-person testifier, Ms. Vicki Christensen. And then after this panel, we will have 2 more remote testifiers, Kelly McLean and Laura Kaminsky, and we will wind up with Arthur West at the very end. But for now, we'll start with Brandon Park and Bethany Rondeau, followed by Vicki Christopherson.
Are you on board?
Mr. Park, Brandon.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to hear my comments regarding House Bill 1581. My name is Brandon Park, and I'm the owner of a Tier 1 producer processor, the smallest cannabis license. I urge you to vote no on establishing a cannabis commission. The industry is not fully in support of a commission, and many of us do not see the benefit of a commission to an industry that is only legal within the state of Washington. Other commissions, blueberries, apples, beef, etc., are all legal throughout the country and all roughly operate in a similar fashion, thus allowing all to benefit from the advertisement and research that is provided by the commission. Cannabis, however, is different. Cannabis can be cultivated indoors, in greenhouses, and outdoors. These vastly different cultivation techniques all require targeted research and information. I do not see a single commission being able to provide a benefit to so many business types. Washington's cannabis industry is also the highest taxed industry in the world, and adding another cost will have detrimental consequences to our already shrinking industry. For these reasons, please vote no on House Bill 1581. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions of this person? I have a question. Is the tax level more important, or the diversity of types of businesses that are in the cannabis business that are the biggest deterrent to having the value of a commission at this point?
For me, it's the diversity of business types.
Is there a point in time that you would be in favor of it? What conditions would have to change for you to be in favor of a commission?
Federal legalization.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Walsh. Then thank you for your testimony. Chair Stearns.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Bethany Rondeau.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bethany Rondeau from Falcana, a cannabis producer processor. I'm here representing my husband and myself. Together, he and I own one of the few minority-owned cannabis companies in Washington State, Justin being a member of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, and myself being a woman, CEO. We are also one of the very few companies left in Washington that started in the legacy medical days. We oppose this bill for a few reasons. The point of a commission is to help market products to expand sales in other states like this wine commission does. This is not possible when cannabis is still federally illegal. This bill is completely unnecessary until federal legalization is actually implemented, which would be 6 years from now considering the political landscape. Oregon is currently the only state that allows for export when federal legalization occurs. but even then they don't support importing. Currently, the cannabis market is between 30 and 50% oversupplied in each state where it is legal, so the likelihood of Oregon or any state wanting to import products is unlikely, making a cannabis commission useless from a marketing standpoint. Cannabis growers in the state are already maxed out on current expenses. Our costs have increased significantly in the last 3 years for supplies, and the price of cannabis has continued to go lower and lower. The last thing growers need right now is another unnecessary expense, especially one that is assessed based on gross sales, where the average grower only has a 5% profit margin to work with. Last year on this bill, the majority of pro was voiced by outdoor growers, which generally have low monthly sales and will be paying the minimum in fees. They advocate that this is a research commission. Our concern, like many indoor growers, is that the research will be focused on outdoor grower issues that have no benefit to an indoor grower. Outdoor growers and indoor growers are as different as someone growing blueberries versus orchids. My husband and I have been in the cannabis space for 14 years. We are well aware of the cost of research, and this is a major concern that the fees will increase annually to become a major expense for our company. We believe this bill has currently been written in a way to be pushed through only to have our fees raised exponentially once it actually passes, and there's no longer oversight to push back against fee increases. We have so little margin to work with already in the cannabis industry. Adding an additional expense to our company that we see has no direct benefit to it is incredibly concerning to us.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions of this testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam Co-Chairs and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Vicki Christofferson here today on behalf of the Washington Cannabis Association, testifying opposed to this bill at this time. You've heard of a lot of the arguments, but I just want to focus on a couple. First of all, research, really strong peer-reviewed research on things like pesticides and others will take millions of dollars. As we know, in terms of how our research institutions conduct this, it is not something that can be done with a small amount of money. Secondly, growers are the ones that are hurting the most right now. Prices are low, we have oversupply, and any additional expense, I'm sorry, but we just think there's no additional expense that is justified at this point for them. There is a point in time where it makes sense for a cannabis commission, and that is when we have an interstate marketplace where we do and can sort of shout from the rooftops how great our products here in Washington, just like our apples and our wine and other commission represented products. But for now, we don't support the added costs, we don't support the added burden, and we don't believe that it would really truly create the kind of research that would yield positive results for the industry. There is a bill working through the legislature that does have an interstate commerce trigger for lots of different pieces. It maybe is something for this committee and the legislature to explore whether to put commission language into the interstate commerce trigger bill, because that would be the appropriate time for a commission to be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any Representative Kloba? Co-Chair Kloba?
All right, thank you. So I appreciate that you're sensitive to cost on the growers, and you know it is an entire industry, and all licensees benefit. You know, I think pretty much equally. So would you entertain the idea of expanding the people who would be subject to the cost, expand that from just growers to across the industry so that it would lighten the load?
I mean, for now, we're not supportive of a commission at all because added costs right now for the industry is not justified. Because the benefit of a commission, if you ask anybody who is represented, apple growers, wine purveyors, others, the value of the commission is that it can market Washington-based products outside of the state. This commission will not raise enough money to do the research that the proponents are purporting, and so therefore it's just an added cost, whether it's on growers and processors, and retailers as well. So at this point, we just don't think a commission is justified. We're willing to entertain the conversation around when federal legalization occurs. Then it makes sense for us to have a conversation as an industry as to how best to form a commission to represent the industry. The last thing I'll add to that is our members have not been involved in the conversations about this development.
That's good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chair Stearns?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have three more witnesses. Thank you, Ms. Christofferson. We have three more witnesses. The first two are remote. and the last is in person. So we'll start with Kelly McLean, followed by Laura Kaminsky, and then Mr. Arthur West.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Good afternoon, co-chairs Wiley and Kloba and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Kelly McLean, Legislative Liaison with the Washington State Department of Agriculture. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on House Bill 1581, creation of a cannabis commission. We're signed in other on this legislation because the costs associated with implementing the bill are not included in the governor's budget. That being said, I'd like to start by saying that we've worked with the bill proponents for years on this approach to funding cannabis research. Many previous issues have been addressed, including limiting the scope of the work done by the commission, as well as how the financial pieces would function in partnership with LCB. Cannabis growers in Washington continue to struggle with a lack of directed research on plant genetics, pest management, and other agricultural topics that normally are addressed by land-grant universities. The absence of these research venues due to the federally regulated nature of cannabis makes growing the plant more difficult. A research-focused, industry-funded commission is one way this could be addressed, similar to the Washington Tree Fruit Research Commission. Note, this is separate from the Washington Fruit Commission, which focuses on marketing. We're happy to work with the bill sponsor and bill proponents if you see fit to move the bill this session, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Ranking Member Chambers, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Can you give us, for some perspective, any dollar amount on the side, any of these other research commissions are spending on research, potatoes, wine, onions?
It really, that's a great question, Ranking Member Chambers. There are budgets ranging from $6,500 per year for commissions all the way up to $6 or $8 million a year when you get to the Grain Commission, which includes 8,000 or 9,000 growers. So there's just a huge range within the 21 commodity commissions that were mentioned earlier in the hearing. I know, in fact, I've seen research done for commissions that bring in around $100,000. I've seen research done for commissions that bring in $4 million. So it really depends on the scope and scale and the total build out of the research proposals being brought forward, but research can be done at all of those different levels.
Follow up?
Okay, thank you. And do any of those commissions, are they restricted to in-state sales only?
No.
I have a question. Are there, for other kinds of commodity commissions, are there multiple sources of grant funds that they use for part of that research, for some of those research projects?
Yes, Co-Chair Wiley, that's a great question. Yes, so there are multiple funding sources, including the Washington State Commission on Pesticide Registration and others, the Specialty Crop Block Grant, that many of them can take advantage of and use as a match to funds that come in from their commission assessments.
Thank you. Co-Chair Kloba?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it was interesting to me that you noted each of these different commissions, based on their size and membership, have different levels of budget, and that is, I'm sure, informed by their revenue that comes in from the assessments on the various growers. And so how do these, or sort of what's the process by which these commissions would decide whether to raise or lower the fee that that funds the research and the other activities that the commissions would be engaged in?
That's a great question, Co-Chair Kloba. The fees can be, it depends on how the commission is established. So we have commissions such as the Beef Commission, which their assessment is set in statute. So they have to come back to the legislature and request an increase in that assessment anytime they want that to occur, and gives the opportunity for lots of public comment. There are others that can be raised by rule, and so they still have to go through the full rulemaking analysis, and then there needs to be a referendum that, you know, a majority of the voting members of the commission have to approve any type of fee increase. So it can happen either way, depending on how the commission is established in statute.
Okay, thank you. So there's a significant involvement of the members in
both cases, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Thank you, Ms. McLean, for coming to testify today. Have you ever seen in any of the commissions where there has been any type of sliding scale fee for those, in an equity sense, for those producer processors that may not be able to meet the level of this fee?
Not that I'm aware of, but I will check into that, Representative Morgan, and get back to you. There's no reason it could not be set up like that. That's an opportunity, whether it's set in statute or set in rule. Any commission can be set up to have any type of fee structure at the creation of the commission. But I will check and see if we have any examples.
Thank you. Other questions? Vice Chair Stearns.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Kaminsky, please.
Yes, hello. Hopefully you can hear me and see me.
We can see you and hear
Great.
you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chairs Wiley and Kloba and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Lara Kaminsky, and I am here on behalf of the Cannabis Alliance testifying in support today. I have been working on helping the cannabis industry form a commission since 2016. It was an exciting venture at the time, thinking we could be allowed such a valuable tool for doing important industry research. 7 years later, I'm still here, asking on behalf of the industry for the legislature's blessing. I would like to quickly address some of the concerns you've heard throughout this hearing to hopefully put them into context. So, the promotion piece, what's the use of a commission if it can't promote? As you heard, not all commissions promote. Out of the 21 commissions currently operating, all do research with two only doing research. So in fact, the most valuable activity of every commission in the state is actually research. And I would like to call attention to, again, the undeniable fact that in most hearings about cannabis, one of the things mentioned over and over is the need for research, not advertising, specifically as the way a commission would do it. We don't need it now. It'd be more useful to have with federal legalization. If we wait until federal legalization, which has an unknown timeline, farmers will continue to struggle. And like they was mentioned, there's already trigger bills in place with California and Oregon already positioning themselves for interstate commerce. It'd be helpful to have research behind us when that happens. Farmers are hurting and can't afford another tax. They are hurting, which is why sharing the burden to fund research to help each and every farmer to produce more successful crops is needed to help their bottom line. It's too low, the assessment. It can't fund research. In fact, the Blueberry Commission, with half the budget that we're estimating, can fund up to 14 research projects a year. So I beg of this committee to sincerely consider all the arguments and really ask yourself, what is the downside to letting the industry assess itself to do research that we know is desperately needed? I can only help wonder what we would have learned 7 years of research under our belts. I hope upon honest reflection, you understand we cannot wait another year. Please pass HB 1581. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions, committee members? Seeing none. Vice Chair Stearns.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our final witness is Mr. Arthur West. We don't see Mr. West in person or online.
With that, I'm going to close the public hearing on this House Bill 1581 and open the public hearing on House Bill 1595.